Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Lianas Senior Transition Support, specialists in home care and senior residences.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed. Matt Del Vecchio here, specializing in home care, downsizing in the senior living industry. Thank you very much for tuning in on a Sunday here. Coming up on the first half of the show, protecting the rights of seniors. This coming June 15th is Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and I'm going to be talking with prominent elder law lawyer Anne Soden. Also, are you still scraping your barbecue with those metal bristles? Well, you won't want to miss my interview with our upcoming guest who experienced the unpleasant procedure to remove one of those metal bristles from her esophagus. And on the second half of the show, I'm going to be discussing the cost of aging and what costs can be expected as we age at home or even make a transition into a senior living community. And I'm going to be wrapping up the show with the president of ALS Quebec to discuss advancements in ALS research and the available resources to families for those living with ALS. Again, thanks for joining me here on Life Unrehearsed. Big congrats to Max Verstappen for just wrapping up the Grand Prix here in Montreal. Big win for Max, for all you Max fans out there. All right, as mentioned, this coming Saturday, June 15th, is Elder Abuse Awareness Day. And when we think of elder abuse, we may tend to think of more physical abuse, for example. However, there are many other forms of abuse that are more prevalent, and we can all make a difference in preventing abuse of our vulnerable older adults. And to tell us more, joining me in studio is Maître Anne Soden, who's an elder law lawyer and mediator. She's a frequent national and international speaker on issues affecting older persons, and Anne is the founding chair of the National Elder Law Section of the Canadian Bar Association. In 2007, she was designated the prestigious Avocat Émérite by the Barreau du Québec for her contributions to the legal profession, society, and the law through the development of elder law. And in 2017, she was the inaugural recipient of the Lord Reading Access to Justice Award, conferred by the Minister of Justice of Quebec. And in 2021, Anne was awarded the Prix de Justice pro bono by the Barreau du Québec. And welcome to Life Unrehearsed.
It's a pleasure to be here, Matt.
Well, so glad for you to be here in studio with me. This is your life, protecting the rights of seniors, and you are doing so much. And I think for our listeners, can you just give us a description of the different types of elder abuse out there?
Well, there are many different types, but let me just say that you mentioned physical, and that would include certainly sexual and negligence in terms of care. But really the principal ones, the ones that are really statistically much more prevalent, and that is financial abuse, and accompanying financial abuse is psychological abuse. That's at the heart of getting at and obtaining and exploiting the older person.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because financial abuse, we're seeing it more and more, but related to that is the psychological abuse. And I want to expand a little bit on that because it has a very broad definition, and you have some real examples which you see in your day-to-day life, protecting the rights of seniors. So can you expand a little bit on psychological abuse?
Right. Let me say that psychological and then in turn financial, which is the most prevalent, perhaps because it's the most reported, most easily identified if money has been taken away. But we have, as the psychological elements, a belittling of the person. And you say, how can this be? And it certainly does happen in families. And unfortunately, it could be the belittling, the not including the person, the diminishing of that person, so the person lose confidence. On the other hand, parents often have great confidence in their children, and then will think of absolutely helping them when the child wants to have help, and without any understanding that they're losing their own patrimony, they're losing their own finances, and there's no recovery. They've lost their money, they have no access to justice, and they feel very much that they're at fault. The child has told them that they're entitled, and it's the entitlement that comes also that is brought forward over and over again.
It is into Life Unrehearsed. Matt Del Vecchio here, and we're talking about how to recognize the different types of elder abuse and what can be done about it with elder law lawyer and mediator, Maître Anne Soden. It's interesting you say about this sense of entitlement. It's almost like it's a death by 1,000 cuts. It's these conversations slowly but surely, and now mom or dad, your parent, is losing confidence. So at the beginning, you might not even realize this is what you're doing, but in fact, that is what's happening. And you get this sense of entitlement, demeaning, and that takes a toll over someone over a period of time, doesn't it?
It's a significant toll. The person losing confidence and believing in time, much like the term gaslighting, where they have believed at this point that because they're having some memory problems, that they are in decline, that they are really at the point of being senile. Terms such as this, senile, capable, are being used in a way that is totally inappropriate. Certainly most persons who have some age memory problems, very, very common, just have to be lifted up. They have to be given some other kinds of methods to help. And we all do that, you know. We're maybe not balancing 10 plates in the air. We've got 2, but we're doing a good job of it. And there's a lot of wisdom there.
A lot of wisdom. And this relates to, and you know, I've talked about ageism on Life Unrehearsed. I know you are a big believer in getting the word out about ageism. We have, as a society, a long ways to go. But what's your take on ageism? What do you see, and what would you recommend?
Well, ageism is very prevalent, and it's really not understood that it is there because it's just part of an attitude, a very broad attitude. It's how we think and how we act in relation to older persons. And the thinking has to do with our stereotypes, our prejudices about persons as they are older. We just have to look at what's happened with Biden and hit the view of President Biden, you know, who's not walking very firmly and immediately has that view of being a vulnerable person in decline, as opposed to looking at the person. The discrimination part, which is how we act in relation to it. And we're considering that the person who is older, who looks older, is necessarily in a decline. And that attitude is very, very prevalent. But we have to dispel this notion that older persons are incapable.
Listen, Life Unrehearsed, talking with elder law lawyer Anne Soden. We're wrapping it up, Anne, but you are a big proponent, and I mean this as one of the most, I would suppose, influential people helping seniors, right, not just here in Montreal, but right across the country, in terms of shifting thought, shifting mentality of someone being incapacitated to a shift of supporting an individual's capacities. And we have about 30 seconds only, but could you just stress the importance of that?
Certainly it is. And you know, our laws, our charters of rights, require that we provide dignity and security and autonomy to the person. And we have to begin to acknowledge we have for youth, because ageism applies to youth, usually teenagers, later teenagers, and attacks. But we've done so much in so many other areas. We have got to ensure that we are, older persons have legal entitlement to all of these rights. It's just an attitude, and we've got to change that attitude. So we need a very broad cooperation from people across the board.
And multi-generational, not just the seniors, the adult children, the young children, and so on. And thank you very much for coming in, sharing your thoughts, and wish you continued success with your movement in protecting the rights of seniors.
Thank you.
That's elder law lawyer and mediator Anne Soden. Thanks so much.